day to be at the range. No miss. Do you mind? I'm trying to, get my reps in here. I'm just trying to dial stuff in. Are you good? You need something or what? But has that guy been down there the whole time? Hi. How did we miss him? You guys shoot that way maybe? Or that way? I'm trying to do stealth stuff over here. Can we shoot the other way? I'm what are you guys talking about over there? Guys? I think he's... Guys? What's up guys, welcome to the Wolf's Den. My name is Wolf and today we're back with another edition of Wolf's Gun Locker. This time we are bringing you something that a lot of you might be familiar with from many places with many names. You may have seen this called the EBR, or the M14, or the Mark 14, or the M21 in the Call of Duty universe, or the M39 from the Battlefield universe, along with many others across many other game franchises, media, movies, all kinds of stuff. It's absolutely crazy the amount of names that this thing gets, but getting right down to the point, this is the M14 EBR. And what that is, it's just an M14 with an enhanced battle rifle, quote unquote, which is what EBR stands for, system, which is all of the modernized stuff that you see on this particular system. Otherwise, it's just an M14 receiver with a bunch of fancy add-ons. This particular model being made by J&G, which is an airsoft company that has some ups and downs, but in this instance they got spot on with this M14. It is out of the box one of the best that I've ever seen, and this is an older gun from J&G, but it's definitely up there in quality. Just the way it feels, the sturdiness of this gun, and the performance out of the box is absolutely nuts. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Right now, it's time to take you guys down the personal journey that this gun has seen since I got it from the used market. When I originally bought this gun got to me in 3 pieces. The stock was completely separated from the body, the chassis and the receiver were completely separate, and to make matters worse, this outer barrel here spun in a 180, like completely off of its static rail where it is currently. It was definitely in a sorry state from its original glory of going straight off the factory line. Nonetheless though, this thing has made an absolute epic comeback, at least to me. the amount of time that I put in. Text from Evike definitely helped out a lot getting this guy back together, and now it is an absolute monster of a DMR and easily one of my favorite out of my collection. However, this is not the state that this rifle came in out of the box. So let's go ahead, get all the attachments, all the good bits off of this guy, and we're going to jump straight into what this gun comes with out of the box and what you can expect performance-wise from J&G when you first get this rifle. Alright guys, so I've got all the stuff stripped off of here except for one thing, which is this bipod. That's a little thing, just a disclaimer. This gun is very, very heavy. With all this stuff on it, it's about 15 pounds. So do keep that in mind if you're looking at possibly getting a rifle like this. Granted, if you get a SEMA or a Matrix or a TM version, and not this J&G one, they might be a little lighter. I know the SEMAs are a little, they're probably the lightest out of the M14 line. But this J&G one by itself is about 12 pounds. So with everything else on it, bipod, scope, riser, we'll get to that all later. With all that on there and a full mag and battery, it's saying closer to like 15, 16 pounds. So it is not for the faint of heart. Hence why the bipod is here. Plus it gives you guys a nice little visual aid, and it can just kind of sit right here in front of me while I talk about it. Makes it a little easier for you guys. But that aside, another disclaimer. And the first thing we're going to talk about that you get with this gun when it comes to you out of the box from J&G are the iron sights. Now, I'll just say, when I got this gun put back together with the help of Evike, these two items were seemingly missing from the box. And that's probably because during shipping, they fell out, or the guy never had them to begin with. I'm not sure. It's not that big of a deal for me. But just to note, the iron sights do come with this gun. They just aren't on mine. The little peephole back here is missing, but I still have the dials back here for the irons, which that's how you adjust. You guys can hear that little positive clicking there. That's how you adjust the elevation on the iron sight on the rear. And then the front is just like a half, like not complete circle like an MP5, but like a little cutout in it, similar to the ACR iron sights that I did for that review. Just a little cutout at the top, very typical M14 iron sight up front. But that brings us to our next topic, which is right here. We have a nice little threaded outer barrel. This outer barrel, however, is not your typical 14mm negative, so you don't twist this way like towards me. You twist away because these are 14mm positive threading. And the gun does come with this nice little 4-prong plastic, to be fair, muzzle brake. But it's a classic little M14 4-prong muzzle brake. Nothing too fancy. It is orange. I just rattle canned over it to make it black, so that way I could, stay concealed a little better and not have the muzzle kind of revealing me at all times if I'm trying to hide in a bush or by a tree or something. Because this is a DMR platform, which is more ideal for reconnaissance work or any kind of stealth incursion rather than just full-on like force-on-force conflict. But these threads up here on the outer barrel are 14mm positive threading, as I mentioned. So that does mean if you are primarily using 14mm negative threading, you'll have to get yourself something a little different to accommodate that. Because obviously you don't want to thread on 14mm negative threading to something that's 14mm positive threading. That would not be very good. You will tear up either your threads on your gun or the threads on whatever muzzle device you're using, or both. And that's not a good day, I can assure you. I've seen that happen a few times. Don't do it. Next up, we have the rail space. There is ample rail space on this gun. It's actually quite nice for what it is. You have the top rail, which goes from basically the front of the upper chassis all the way to the chamber here, or the mock bolt, whatever you want to call it, the front of the actual receiver. And that runs from here. And the little rail spaces are numbered, which is actually kind of nice. I'll put in a little film of that right now. You guys can see that a little closer. And then, of course, with your top rail, you have side rails, one here and then one on the adjacent side, same length. Just a nice little side rail for anything you should need. And, of course, it has a bottom rail, which is where my bipod is attached right now. which is also equal length to the side rails. The side and bottom rails are all equal length all the way across. Now, one piece that you might notice is missing from the gun right now is the rail down here that my grip was attached to. The handguard is actually made of Kydex, which is very, very comfy, at least to me, on the hand. It's a lot nicer than just straight metal, and it's got some nice little ergonomic contouring going on. It's pretty nice, but where that gets to be a problem is with the amount of weight that this gun is, and given that it's front heavy, that puts a lot of pressure on your wrist and your fingers, and at least for me, that wound up hurting my hand more often than actually helping me grip the rifle better, because it is just perfectly flat. So that's where that personalization that I'll talk about later came from. But that is important to note that this gun does not have any sort of rail space on the bottom of the Kydex. It in fact has 3 set screws that keep the Kydex in place. And the reason that's there is because underneath the Kydex is where your battery space goes. And it's perfectly suited for something like this, which is a Titan 30 milliamp 11.1 lithium ion battery. I personally love this particular battery for this gun. It runs very cleanly and efficiently, and it will last you pretty much a straight day of play, no questions asked. You guys know I'm kind of a Titan fanboy in terms of batteries. I use them for everything, and this gun is no exception. The battery space is right underneath the mock bolt that runs the length of the gun all the way up to the outer barrel, and it's beautiful. It's a very large amount of space for this gun, but that does mean that you can add quite a bit of weight to this gun depending on what battery you're using. Obviously with a Titan, pretty light, nothing too big of a deal, but keeping in mind that you're adding weight to something that's already heavy. Moving up from that, on the flip side, I'll go ahead and flip this around for you guys here. There is an included sling attachment point that locks into any of these little cutouts here on the rail. You guys can see that right here. It's a little front guy. You can put that either on the left side of the gun like I do, or on the right side, whichever you prefer, and it just locks into any of these little cutout slots underneath the top rail that you want. It's very, very convenient, and it's held in by 2 Allen key screws. No big deal there. And then we'll go ahead and flip this back around here because we have more to talk about on this side. ADD break. All right, guys, time for your regularly scheduled ADD break. We got some cans down here. We're going to be shooting them. And 2 points that I missed during my actual discussion. First off, mag release. This little lever right here, just like an AK or an MP5, just a little paddle, push it forward, no problem. Second, this little rail right here at the stock. Don't know what it is, don't ask, no one cares. Anyway, we got some cans of some non-brand cola down here that we're going to be shooting at. And I'm going to take a single shot, that's it. And if I get all of them, new AK. If not, no AK. Let's do it. First one, starting from the right. Fighting Tyranny in 3, 2, 1. Next one. Alright guys, you know the rules, and so do I. I missed 2, no new AK. Sorry about it. Let's get back in the room. Moving back from our sling attachment point, that brings us to our mock bolt system. And as you guys saw in the intro, this mock bolt and charging handle do in fact do some stuff. And you can pull it back just all like that and then let it go, or you can bring it all the way back and lock it in place. Make sure it's nice and secure there. Mine does like to get stuck. Yep, there you go. Not all of them will do that. Mine just is a little cranky sometimes. Like I said, gun's been through a lot. Likes to get stuck back there, and it just locks right there. Doesn't really allow you to do anything because the hop-up is located back here. We'll get to that in a minute. But it's just a nice little aesthetic piece if you're into the realism effect, which I personally am. I do like that the charging handle is fully functional. And, excuse me, on the flip side of this gun is where your bolt release is. So we'll go ahead and flip that back over once again. You can see that little tab right here, that little guy, that is your bolt release. And all you have to do with your charging handle pulled all the way back is you just tap this guy, and it sends the bolt all the way forward. One disclaimer with the bolt though. Mine has not done this. It's very sturdy, so I've had no issues with this. But I have known M14s, not this particular model, not the J&G, but the SEMAs that do lock all the way back and can send forward. And I believe some of the Matrix ones, when you pull that bolt back and let it slam forward, there is a chance, similar to the MP5s, with their slaps, their little HK slaps on the charging handle, there's a chance that the entire charging handle will snap off, like the entire thing. Not just like a little portion of it, the entire charging handle will just go flying. I've been fortunate enough not to have that happen on this gun, and it's been holding very sturdy the entire time I've had it. Not that I rack that charging handle very often, or at least bring it all the way back. I typically, if I do bring it back, I just bring it back a little bit and then kind of let it ride and help it get back to where it is, just for the added realism, just for fun. But that is a little disclaimer. Don't go breaking your charging handle, because trust me, that's no fun. Moving off from the charging handle and bolt assembly, we of course have the hop-up, which I mentioned before. It's located just inside the mag well at the front, and it is a little wheel right down here. You guys can kind of hear that. Maybe the camera's picking that up. I'll put in another little bit of film, just like I did with the numbers. That way you guys can see, because it's kind of dark in there and it's going to be hard for you guys to see, but in the event that you can, it's that little dial right there. It's not my favorite hop-up system in the world, but it does get the job done. It's very accurate once you get it dialed in, and that hop-up does work, so it's very nice that way. It's not like some different kind of proprietary ones where they kind of work some of the times, kind of don't. In my experience, this hop-up, once you have it dialed in, it holds 0, and it's pretty solid. So it's a little bit of annoyance to get down in there if you have gloves on, like I do. If your mag is in, like this, it's just rocked in. Can't really get up there because it is pretty tight. So I would just personally recommend take this out, wind this a little bit, put your mag back in, and see how the waters are. Behind that, we have, of course, our safety, which is right here. Just this little tab. Just push that forward. Now you're in fire. Push it back. You're in safe. Pretty standard for M14s. Anyone who's held one before will kind of understand how that works. Nothing too crazy going on there. And then, once again, we're going to flip this around, because that brings us to one of our last pieces before we get to the very rear of the gun, which is your fire selector, which is this little guy right here. It's just a little swivel. Right now it's in safe. It's got like a little triangle indent right here at the top that indicates that it's in semi. I think I said safe the first time. I apologize. But right now the triangle is at the bottom, actually. I am mistaken. At the bottom, the triangle indicates that that's in semi if it's at the top. If it's at the bottom, it's in full. So you just swing that back around, and now we're in semi again. And then this is full auto. Oh, nope. There we go. A little finagly, like I said. A couple little quirks with this gun, but it's been through a lot. I won't get that with every J&G, just some of them, mine in particular, do that. But that's your fire selector. I believe that's pretty standard for most M14s as well. Nothing too crazy. Moving back behind that, we have another set of sling points. One for the left, one for the right. Just depending on what side shooter you are. You have one at the back, very, very nice. And that can easily be linked up with your one up front. No problems whatsoever. That then brings us to our pistol grip here. It's fine as a pistol grip. It's made of the same sort of Kydex material as your handguard is. So it feels nice in the hand. It's texturized on the sides a little bit. Nothing too crazy going on. It's a grip. I mean, there's really nothing to complain about or to expound about. It's a grip. Nothing too crazy. And then that brings us to our stock assembly, which, as you guys can see, it is a retracting stock, very similar to an MP5 with their retracting stock, or the G3s, or even M4s can have that kind of stock as well. And as you guys can see, there's a tab here at the back that controls that, and that just brings the stock all the way back into this last position, like that, and locks along any of these little grooves, or it can go all the way forward. Excuse me, mag, how dare you. Or it can go all the way forward and lock up right there. And that's as small as the rifle gets right there. It's I mean, that's pretty compact if you need to travel with it or if your arms are that short. I'm not going to judge. But that's as far back as it goes, or as far in as it goes. What's also nice about this particular stock is it has a cheek riser built into it. There's a little flippy flip tab right there, as you guys can see, that little guy. You pull that up, and then this whole section can go all the way up, and it can go anywhere between completely down and completely up, just depending on how tall your optic is. I think it's a great feature. Once again, made out of the same Kydex material as the grip and the handguard. So it's comfy, but it's nothing like too crazy to like scream home about. And then to lower it, you just bring this back up, and gravity does the work for you. Very, very nice. That's included with that stock. It's one of the things that makes the EBR really, at least in this configuration, as the Mod Zero. And then the last thing to touch on is the actual butt pad of the stock, which is made of a very nice and comfy rubber. Similar to kind of the sniper rubber that you guys will see sometimes on some of the newer sniper rifles. It's not quite the same level as like the really nice like foamy kind of rubber, but it's still more comfortable than your average M4 buttstock rubber pad that goes onto it. But that's pretty much it for this rifle in terms of what all it comes with externally. Internally, this gun shoots out of the box between 380 and 400 FPS from the factory using 0.2 gram BBs, and that's real nice. If we're talking 2.5s, which is what I typically use, or 2.8s, you're going to be anywhere from 350 to 380 FPS. But, of course, that decreases the heavier weight you go with. But out of the box for a DMR, that's really solid. Especially with the internals that it's using and how old this gun is, that's really, really nice. And I can tell you it performs quite well. And I think it's time we take this out to the range just so I can show you how good it performs. Alright guys, we're outside right now. Going to do some range testing. Got the M14 right here. Going to go ahead and load her up. We are using Elite Force 0.25 gram BBs, and of course I have my scope cam to show you guys a little bit of that precise DMR action. Although our range is not as long as it could be for some DMR action, that's no big deal. We're going to go ahead and pop some shots on this little metal plate right here. Safety's off. Got it in semi right now, and we're going to go ahead and send it. Alright, let's go ahead and flip her into full auto for you guys. And let her rip. 3, 2, 1. Alright, safety's back on. Now, we're going to go ahead and take her back inside, and I'll show you guys the personal additions I've made to this rifle. Alright guys, so we are now back inside the gun room, or the gun station, whatever you guys want to call it. And now it's time to go over my personal additions to this rifle. As minimal as they may look, there is a little bit of nuance to what's going on here. So, we're going to start with internals because, believe it or not, after seeing that performance out on the range, there's only one thing really that got messed with internally of this rifle upon putting it back together by myself along with Evike. And that is back here, the motor is now an Evike Performance Shop high torque motor, just to get a little more oomph out of the internals of this gun. Otherwise, it's completely stock. I never changed the barrel, I never changed the bucking, the nub, nothing on the internals of the gearbox, just the motor needed replaced, and that's because there was really not a very good motor in here. The motor that was in here was dying when I first got it, so we went ahead and changed it out for a high torque motor to get a little more oomph out of this guy. Outside of what came with the box. Really the only other thing are the external components, which a lot of them you guys can see up front. A lot of them are very minimal looking, and we're going to go ahead and start up front right here with this guy right here. This is a Harris style bipod, as you guys can see. It's what's keeping this very heavy rifle standing so that I don't have to just hold this and like shakily hold it in front of the camera for you guys. It's a very simple bipod. It do a stand. I'll just say that. It do a stand. Go ahead and move this out of the way for you guys so you guys can see that. But as you guys can see, it's got two tabs, one here and one here on the same spot. So that way, if you need to, if it's unlevel ground, bam, and it just locks in place. Of course, we're going to go ahead and put that down because we don't want this rifle falling onto the floor. That would not be very good. Behind that, we have the angled foregrip, which is attached to the Kydex, which you guys would notice was not there. That rail was added on later to support a grip because this gun is rather heavy. Having that extra grip space on your hand feels very nice. You don't have to hurt your wrist with that flat piece of Kydex there, as comfortable as that is, at least to me. And then that rail is just a simple M-lock rail that happened to fit to the set screws that were already embedded into the Kydex. So that was very convenient. Nothing too crazy there, just a little Magpul PTS AFG, because as we all know, I am a Magpul PTS snob, and I'm proud and happy with that. Up above that, we have this 6-inch riser, that is a 1-inch rise, 1x6, I guess is what you would call it, so it's 1 inch tall and 6 inches long, to cover this space right here above the mock bolt assembly. That way you can just get a little more length out of that top rail, since it does stop right before the mock bolt. Trying to put any sort of scope there is going to be a little uncomfortable for the user, at least for me. I'm not going to speak for everyone. Some of my AK guys out there might disagree. But for an optic like this, which is a 3:9 by 56 magnified optic, getting that pushed further back is going to be really helpful. This optic, of course, as I mentioned, is a 3:9 by 56 magnified optic, meaning it has a 3 times magnification all the way up to a 9x, which is adjusted with this little dial here on the side. It just swings all the way around like that, and then swings all the way back to the 3 position, the other option being the 9. This option also has red and green color, if you so desire, rather than just the standard black etched in reticle. You can change it in 5 different levels using this guy right here, red and green, 5 levels each. And that is pretty much it for the personal additions to this gun. The only other thing to really note on are the magazines. These mags are made by SEMA. They are just mid-capacity mags, so no wind on the bottom. I definitely prefer that. They hold between 80 to 100 rounds each, hence why I have 3 of them. I don't do like a lot of super heavy shooting with this gun, which is why I only have 3 right now. Plus, it's kind of difficult to find these mid-caps because a lot of people like them. And if you're going to be running mid-caps like this, I would highly recommend for all my Odin fans out there that you grab one of these Airsoft Junkie TM compatible M14 adapters for this Odin. It's definitely saved my butt in a lot of instances, because I can promise you, when you first get these, even now, after all the time that I've used this gun, these springs are extremely tight, and they do not like the traditional speed loader, like the thumb ones. You will hurt your fingies trying to use one of those on these mags. The mags are very nice, and the springs are nice quality, and they do not like to give a whole lot, so that way they can push BBs very cleanly into your gun. So, good thing, also bad thing, just depends on how you look at it. Alright guys, and with that, that's going to bring everything here to a wrap for the most part. As I mentioned, pretty minimalist on the externals and internal additions to this gun. This thing has been through enough already as is, so I've just kind of left it alone until I need to add things to it. And right now, gun is running absolutely fine with very little issue, as you guys have seen, after everything it's been through. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to leave a like. And comment down below what you guys think of this rifle, or what rifles you guys want to see in the future. Or if it's not a rifle, what other types of weapon platforms you guys want to see from my gun locker. This is definitely something I enjoy doing for you guys, and it's something that you guys all seem to enjoy and take very well. So definitely be sure to do that in the comments below. Be sure to go and subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell to get notified of more awesome content like this in the future. And as always, I hope to see you guys next time I hit the field.
Safety! Your gun, sir! They sold what now? Ooh, hear this? He's got ideas.